My sister convinced Dad to sign over his rental properties while on morphine, so I got the hospice nurse's testimony. The call came from property line management at 11:15 on a Thursday morning while I was replacing a kitchen faucet in one of Dad's rental units. Mr. Garrett, we need to clarify something about the ownership transfer, the office manager said, her voice carefully neutral in that way people use when they're about to deliver bad news. All 7 properties were transferred to Rachel Garrett's name last week, and she's requested we send all future correspondence and rent payments to her directly. We wanted to confirm you're aware of this change before we update our systems. I stood there in the empty kitchen, trying to process what she'd just said. That's impossible, I told her. Dad's still alive. He wouldn't transfer anything without telling me. There was a pause. The paperwork came through the county recorder's office on Monday. Quitclaim deeds for all 7 properties. Your father's signature is notarized on every document. I drove straight to the county recorder's office. The clerk pulled up the digital records while I stood at the counter feeling my pulse in my throat. 7 deeds, all dated the previous Friday, all transferring properties from Leonard Garrett to Rachel Marie Garrett for $1 and other valuable consideration. Dad's signature wobbled across each page, barely legible. And there was Rachel's name as the notary witness, her neat signature and stamp making everything official and legal and utterly wrong. I sat in my truck and read through each deed 3 times, looking for some explanation that would make this make sense. There wasn't one. Dad had been dying for 3 months. He'd built his rental portfolio over 40 years, starting with a duplex he bought at 25. They generated enough income that Dad had retired at 62. When Mom died of a stroke 4 years ago, those properties became Dad's entire focus and legacy. These are for you and Rachel, he told me a dozen times. Everything I built, split right down the middle. You've earned it, helping me all these years. Rachel had moved to San Diego after college, visited maybe twice a year. I was the one who'd collected rent, fixed toilets, painted apartments, showed units to prospective tenants. Dad promised me that work would pay off eventually. Rachel flew home the day after Dad's diagnosis, which surprised me because she'd missed Mom's funeral. Suddenly, she was taking family medical leave, moving into Dad's house, positioning herself as the devoted daughter. At first, I was grateful. Dad needed round-the-clock attention. I had my own family and I was managing Dad's properties. But within 2 weeks, Rachel had established herself as the gatekeeper. When I'd stop by after work, she'd meet me at the door. Dad's resting right now. Maybe come back tomorrow. Or, he had a rough night. He doesn't really want visitors. I'd find myself standing on my own father's porch, being managed and controlled by my sister, who hadn't bothered to visit in 8 months. The hospice nurse started coming in early September. Her name was Teresa Kim. She came 3 times a week initially, then daily as Dad deteriorated, managing his pain medications and monitoring his vital signs. By late September, Dad was on a continuous morphine drip through a pump. The hospice doctor had prescribed it after Dad's pain became unmanageable. He'd wake up screaming. The pump changed everything. He'd sleep 18 hours a day. Teresa documented all of this, noting in her records that Dad's cognitive function was severely impaired, and he was unable to make complex decisions or understand detailed information. I remember one afternoon sitting beside his bed while he drifted in and out of consciousness, trying to tell me something about the properties but losing the thread mid-sentence. Rachel hovered in the doorway, watching us, saying nothing. I thought she was just being protective. I didn't realize she was waiting for me to leave. The deeds were signed on Friday, September 23rd. Once I had the date, I started reconstructing that day. I'd been at the Maple Street property that morning, replacing the water heater. I was turning the unit for new renters, trying to keep the properties running smoothly while Dad was dying. I'd stopped by Dad's house around 6 in the evening. Rachel met me at the door. He's had a really hard day, she said, blocking the entrance. Teresa had to increase his morphine this morning because the pain was so bad. He's been completely out of it since noon. Maybe just let him rest tonight. I'd peered past her into the living room, where Dad's hospital bed had been set up. He was motionless under the blankets, his breathing shallow and rattling. I'll just sit with him for a minute, I said, but Rachel's hand was firm on my arm. Michael, he doesn't even know you're here. Come back tomorrow when he might actually be conscious. I went home that night feeling guilty for being relieved. Watching Dad die was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Stephanie and I had dinner with our kids, helped them with homework, watched a movie I couldn't focus on. I fell asleep on the couch around 11 and dreamed about the duplex Dad had bought when I was 3 years old. In the dream, Dad was young and healthy, showing me how to fix a leaky pipe, his hands steady and sure. When I woke up at 2 in the morning, my phone had 3 missed calls from Rachel. I called back immediately, and what I found out next changed everything. Full story is linked below or on my channel.